So, something that I saw a lot working in clinical settings, especially with diabetes care, is that it was very prescriptive and it was very prescriptive and restrictive at that. But that's why we're trying to change the narrative of what a dietitian does because it's like, oh, I'm meeting with the diet police is like I think the
Yes.
idea that has been that has developed when it comes to dietitians, and that's not the case at all. We're completely trying to like just move away from that. And it's like we just want to support you in feeling better and achieving whatever goals you want to achieve. We're not trying to push weight loss and like a beauty ideal for people. We want to meet them where they are. It's not about changing your body. It's about getting you to eat more nutritious foods that are culturally relevant.
Sabrosura pa' ti que qué.
Hola, welcome back to Café con Pam, the bilingual podcast que comparte nuestras historias sin censura. El día de hoy tenemos una conversación with Wendy Lopez. Wendy is the co-founder of Diabetes Digital, a woman of color founded telehealth company transforming diabetes and pre-diabetes care through accessible insurance-covered virtual nutritional counseling. Together with Jessica Jones, she previously co founded Food Haven, a multimedia platform where their top rated podcast has reached 5 million downloads, exploring the intersections of nutrition, wellness, and social justice. As registered dietitians and diabetes educators with over a decade of clinical and community nutrition experience, they provide actionable evidence based nutrition advice that supports health and wellness in underserved communities. Listeners, esta conversación con Wendy fue súper divertida because not only was it very educational, we learned a lot, pero también it was like we vibed really cool. So, I'm going to give you 5 things that you can get from this episode in case you're wondering, is this something that I want to get into? Número uno, cultural food wisdom is medicine, not a problem to fix. Wendy challenges the diet industry's erasure of cultural foods, affirming that traditional dishes like rice and beans are not obstacles to health. They're actually nutrient dense foundations that sustained our ancestors and can sustain us when we honor them without shame. A comer frijoles. Número dos, diabetes care is a justice issue, not just a personal health issue. The disproportionate impact of diabetes on communities of color stems from systemic inequities, food apartheid, lack of access to culturally competent care, and the stress of navigating systems not designed for us. Real solutions address these root causes, not just individual behavior. So it's a collective issue. Número tres, your body already knows how to eat. We just need to reconnect with it wisdom because beyond restrictive meal plans and calorie counting, intuitive eating and honoring hunger cues allow you to build a sustainable relationship with food that supports both your physical health and nervous system regulation. Número cuatro, professional pivots require honoring what's already working. Wendy and Jessica's transition from Food Haven to Diabetes Digital wasn't about abandoning their foundation. It was actually about deepening their impact through telehealth innovation while staying rooted in their values of accessibility and cultural competence. Y número cinco, sleep is a non negotiable main character energy. In a culture that glorifies hustle and grind, Wendy's commitment to 8 to 9 hours of sleep is not indulgent. It's actually an act of sovereignty that keeps her anchored in herself and able to show up fully for her work and community. Those are the 5 things that for sure you're going to hear in this episode. And I think, listen, just get into it. Let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Wendy. Wendy, welcome to Cafe con Pam.
Thank you for having me. Super
It's a
excited.
pleasure to have you here. And the question we always start with is, what is your heritage?
I'm Dominican. That's it.
That's it.
How so I was born in the States. My parents are from the Dominican Republic. I was kind of back and forth hopping around when I was a kid. Um, and yeah, I've been here all my life, but I go back and forth still. I go a few times a year. My parents live there.
Oh, they back?
Oh yeah, yeah. My dad went back when I was 13 and my mom went when I was a little older. So yeah, they've been living there for a really long time. So I've always just been like back and forth.
Fascinating. And you
Yeah.
decided to stay.
Yeah, I mean I did because I was mostly raised here. It's like that phrase that Dominicans say, which I'm sure other cultures say, but it's like no soy de aquí ni de allá. Like I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, I'm very much a New Yorker. I have my community here, and even though I consider the DR to be home as well, my chosen family is in New York mostly. So that the states just it feels a little more like home to me. But I still go, and it's like just a second home that I have with my family that's over there for the most part. So yeah, I did school here. I now live in Charlotte. Recently,
Mhm.
I moved. I relocated from New York, which has been a big adjustment. But yeah, that's that.
As a New Yorker, how was it for your nervous system to move into Charlotte?
Well, I feel like New Yorkers have like a differently programmed nervous system than
Like, high
anyone
blood
else.
pressure just by, like, default?
The default is that. Um, and as I've gotten older, I'm just realizing that, it's not my preference. Also, like, going back to the Dominican Republic and my
That makes a
family
difference.
is yeah, they're from the Campo and just being in the mountains and, tapping into nature, I'm realizing, like, those are things that I appreciate a lot more now. Um, so, yeah, in New York, I actually and have you been to New York?
Yeah, of
Okay.
course. I'm from Mexico City, so New York is, like
Okay.
is very, very close, not as fast, but I mean, Mexico City is not as fast, but yes.
Okay, so I don't know if you're familiar with upstate, like the Hudson
Yeah.
Valley. So I actually ended up moving up there a few years ago. Yeah, before Charlotte. So I went to school upstate. I went to school in the Hudson Valley. That's where I did college and I loved it. Like I always loved it and I would visit every year. And yeah, like into my 30s, I was like I really want to have a home in the mountains in New York to just like disconnect from the city. So ended up buying this, like, old ass home, upstate and renovated it.
Oh, how
Um,
fun.
yeah, it was like a
Did you know about
very
construction or was it like
I did, a little bit because I renovated my place in DR too, and I do enjoy, like,
nice?
home design. So yeah, so I did have access to that, and I was living upstate for a couple years, and then it's just things have become so inaccessible in New York, like, it's so expensive, even upstate, because everyone now from the city is moving there.
Mm.
So, my husband and I were like, "Oh, we're thinking about growing our family," and we were like, "We should start just exploring other alternatives, while we are childless because it's gonna be a lot easier." So, we moved here in March, and we are still figuring out what we're gonna do. We might go to DR. My husband's from Colombia. We might go to Colombia. We might go back upstate. I don't know, girl. I'm just hopping around at this point,
I mean, you're
figuring it
playing.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been pretty nomadic these past few years. So we'll see. Yeah.
Is he from so he's Colombian, but is he from New York too?
Yeah, he was born in Colombia, but he was raised in New York. Yeah.
Okay, so he knows that fast-paced life that man.
Yes, yes, definitely. More than me, because I always had the contrast of like, oh, I go to DR, I went to school upstate. Like he didn't really have that contrast. It was always just New York or bust. So it's been a big
Mm.
adjustment, but I love it here. I love Charlotte. Like things are just so different. When you have like removed yourself from New York and you're in California, right?
I'm in San Diego, the chillest the
Yeah.
chillest city in California, I would say.
Yeah. So like a lot I have a few friends that are from California and we met in New York and yeah, now that they're older, they're like we would never go back.
Were they stressed?
Like yeah, they were just like having a
Yes.
midlife crisis and they were like we're going back home.
Right.
We yeah, it's not for everyone. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's a contrast for sure.
Huge.
I often share the story of when I went to New York City in college. And I'm from Mexico City. I grew up in the city. Like, my walk is as is fast because that's what you learn to do.
Yeah.
You know, and like there's hundreds of thousands of people in the subway. Like, there's a subway in Mexico City. So either like you walk fast or you get walked, in the masses of people exiting and entering. So you just have to get it together. So the moment I landed, I went to college in the Midwest. And the moment we landed in New York City, I was like, "Oh, we're back." Like, it kicked in.
Yeah, it makes
It's like,
sense.
"Let's go." Yeah. And so all the students that I went to on the trip with, they're all Midwestern kids, from like Nebraska and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Bleh," like just staring at the buildings, like looking at the city. And they had got yelled at so many times because they were not
Oh,
moving. Like, they were just like
yeah.
randomly standing. And New Yorkers are like, listen, we got places to be, people to see,
They don't play around.
right?
They don't play around, and that's why I love Mexico City because we've been going there every year for a long time, but this past year, when we were doing the whole nomadic thing, we went for 3 months, and
Wow.
yeah, we were there for a little minute, and Gabe loved it. He was like, "I feel like I'm home," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's because 'cause we're like." I mean, Mexico City is, like, incredible, and also it's like, the pace is kind of similar, so, like,
Yeah.
that was a part of it too. It's like but it's a lot prettier than New York and, like,
It's more green,
just
I would
more
say.
yeah, more green, more charming, like, the
Yeah.
smells are not there like they are in New York.
Yeah. So, it depends. It depends.
Yeah, maybe where
Depends where
you
you go.
are. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I will always love Mexico City. That's where I grew up. And now that it's trending, kind of pisses me off, but it's okay.
I know, yeah, because I started going, like, I would say, like, 12 years ago when I was
Very different.
going, it was really different. I feel like I don't know what happened. Well, I know what happened during the pandemic, but it was like all these people moved there, because they were working remote, and that really shifted the culture in the city.
So
Because when I
much.
was going there, like, being a Black person in Mexico City, it was like, we were literally getting stopped left and right by, like, Mexicans, and now
Ay, qué pena.
it's so different, like, they would literally be like, "Brown su" like, all the piropos and stuff like that, and, like, whatever, "Brown sugar, Beyoncé," and I'm like, "Oh god." And now it's like, you're just a regular degular person, like,
Yes.
there's, so many people from all over the world living in Mexico City. It's crazy,
So many.
and it's so expensive.
Agreed. Yes, that's the challenge, that my friends who are locals have been displaced
Yeah.
because of the cost of living has increased. But I also think, like, seeing the migration patterns, because when I was young, we would see migrants from Central America, for example, come through
Mhm.
Mexico City because the tren, ¿cómo le llaman? La Bestia. Have you heard of that
I
train?
haven't, no.
Ooh, it's like there's a whole documentary, it's gonna break your heart.
Oh,
So, it's this
damn.
train that goes from the south of Mexico all the way to the US.
Wow,
And
okay.
migrants from all over, they hop on the it's un tren de carga, so it's not
Mhm.
a passenger train, but because
Okay.
it's a tren de carga, people hop at the top of the train, and they have to tie themselves up
Mm.
on the train so they don't fall. Like, it's not, like, cozy
Yeah,
seating. And
yeah.
so it's not the only, but it's a way that migration patterns have existed for a long time. They hop on the bestia, and there's actually hay un pueblo donde hay mujeres que, speaking of food, because your work is around food, they
Mhm.
feed the people that are in La Bestia, and they make bags, and they just throw them as the train
Oh,
like, going.
wow. Oh, I gotta watch that. Yeah, Imma look
Yeah,
it up.
prep yourself.
Okay.
Especially if you're a feeler, ooh, I was crying the whole time,
Yes, yeah,
but it's a reality that
yeah,
exists.
it absolutely.
And
Mhm.
so, how did we get into La Bestia?
Mexico City, yeah.
I know my ADHD is just, like, glitching for a sec. So, we would often see people that would fall off the train in some way,
Mm.
and many times, I mean, a lot of it's terrible because people get mutilated, like, when you fall off a train, like, your foot might get caught in the it's
Yeah.
just, like, the reality of it. And I remember when I was little, there were a lot of Central Americans, for example,
Mhm.
that they would like my mom had a business and they would come and ask. She had a retail, like a store, una tiendita, and they would come and ask for work, and they would be like, "Whatever you can give me because I'm in between the next train," type thing.
Yeah.
And so those were kinda like, I mean, not the only types of migration, but now we see the people that work from home and that,
Yeah.
we would see tourists all the time, but ahora is people that, like, go there and, like,
Yeah.
land, and they live
Yeah.
there for a minute, and so it's very different for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's shifted the culture so much. Like before, when I would go, like it was just people spoke Spanish. And now a
Mhm.
lot of the locals are speaking English to cater
I
to,
see. Eso me
the
choca.
Americans. Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, what is going on? It's kind of ruined it in that way because I was like, "Oh, this is such a special place." Like, it's kind of like I wouldn't even tell people that I liked going there because I was like, "I wanna keep it undercover." And now I'm
Right?
like during the pandemic, I was like, "What the hell happened?" Like, it was such a
Yes,
shift.
they heard about it.
They heard about it. Yes,
No, somebody must
exactly.
have done a post, like, "Mexico City's cool," and then everyone hopped on that train, pun intended.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
here we are.
Here we are.
So, Wendy, back to your story. That was, like, a very long-winded side note. I'm glad you love Mexico City. Do you identify as Afro-Latina?
Yes.
I asked this because not everyone does, you know?
Okay.
I've had those especially from Dominicans. It's a conversation we've had.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, where I've had to ask. One time I assumed she was older.
Okay.
So, she was much older,
Yeah.
and she was like, "No, no, no. I'm a Latina. I'm not," and I'm like, "Okay, I
Yeah.
respect everyone
Generational. So I identify as Black. I'm a Black
You do.
Dominican. Not all Dominicans are Black. I would like to say that most are, just because of our history and our ancestry. I have white Dominicans in my family. I have Black Dominicans in my family. There's a lot of mixing that has happened. This whole conversation about Afro Latinidad is really interesting to me because um, I mean I've identified as a Black person for a very long time.
Before Afro-Latinidad was a conversation?
Right. This is like I think a newer concept, which I think is great. Like, like really being proud of that heritage. And it's an ongoing conversation that I'm always just like very interested about and how it evolves because I think that because it's a lot more nuanced, I would say in the Caribbean, especially in like the Caribbean, the Latin American Caribbean, it's not a similar race conversation like it is in the United States where it's like the one drop rule, basically, right? In the
Yes.
Caribbean, it's not really like that. And also, for most Dominicans, I would say for the most part, like the majority, I don't know like the exact percentages, but we do have African lineage. Now, how much African lineage do you have, right? And that's when the whole Afro Latina thing comes in because there are like with race being a social construct, right? It's like how you present in the world.
Mhm.
So I've
Mhm.
seen some people who are like, "Oh, I'm Afro Latina, whatever," but they I I don't know if passing is the right word or like they're not presenting as a Black person in the world, right? So they're gonna have a different experience. So it's very interesting to me, like who who gets to be Afro Latina and who doesn't, right? Like for me, I've always had nappy hair. I've always had, darker skin. Like
You can't hide it.
yeah, it's pretty visible. And like on my father's side, my family is blickety black. Like it's undeniable. Whereas for some people it's a lot more mixed. Um
Mhm.
it's not as visible, I would say. So, I don't know. I think with the whole conversation, like it's really important to center people's voices who are moving through the world as a Black person, right? Visibly, because um, what I see a lot is these, the the Afro-Latina and whatever, and, like, the voices sometimes that are at the forefront are people who are probably not having, similar experiences to their darker peers because of colorism, amongst other
Mhm.
things. So it's all very interesting to me, but, the short answer is I'm Black, I'm Dominican, and yeah, and that's on period.
So you don't call the Afro-Latina label so much as a Black label?
Yeah, I've always just, I've identified as, like, Black, for, like,
Yeah,
as early as I came into, like, my, awareness, like, racially, right? Because like, in DR, we don't it's not as much of a conversation as it is in the US.
totally.
So, like, I would say probably in my early 20s, like, when I was in college, in my late teens, early 20s, I just started learning more, and I was like, "Okay, yes, I'm a Black Dominican." Back then, the whole Afro-Latino thing wasn't really a thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, sure, like, yes, I'm Afro-Latina, but it's like,
But you
I'm
present as a Black person.
I'm Black. Yeah, that's like, I'm Black because sometimes I also feel like that word is, I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's used as, like, I'm a special kinda Black,
It
and
is.
it's like, I'm Black, we're all very special, we are all incredible, divine, we have very rich ancestry, and we're Black, and that's what it is, and I'm Dominican. But it has become a little bit of a trendy term, you know? I think, again, there's a lot of value in that identity and, like, in, like, bringing awareness around it.
Mhm.
But yeah, like, I usually don't say like, "Oh, I'm Afro Latina." I say, I'm a Black Dominican.
I love that.
No shade to the Afro Latino thing, like, I don't have an issue with it, it's just my preference.
Absolutely. And thank you for humoring my not question and
Of course.
expanding on it. I appreciate it. Because I think I've learned as a non-Black Latina, I've learned to, pose the question, like, tell me what I can ask you because I've gotten offense from it. I can't also assume that you're Black
Yeah.
because when I did, they were like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa." Because
Yeah.
there's also the shame and all the history and, like, we
Mm.
are not gonna get back into, like, that would be a whole rabbit hole, that would be, like, a whole hour of conversation,
Yeah.
that everyone has their own internalized history of how their own families have talked about it, how they've
Mhm.
grown up, and, everyone is going through their own journey of identity, which I think to
Mhm.
bring it back to Latinos in the US, anyone from Latin America, everyone is going through their own identity exploration
Yes, absolutely.
in their own way. So I respect, like, if you were telling me I'm a Black Latina or I'm a Black Dominican, let's go. I'll respect that. But I
Yeah.
sometimes there's been like that's still a conversation that's a little tricky to have, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Because if you have someone who is looking Black as can be, and they're like, "I'm not Black," then it's like
All right.
I guess, you know what I mean? It's like, moving along. So
Yes.
yes, I can see how that could be really tricky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been and same for indigenous Latinos. Like, I've been
Mhm.
asked by friends if I identify as, like, indigenous Latina, and I'm like, "Absolutely not," because
Yeah.
my privilege, I have not ever, whether I'm here or there or anywhere, I still have a privilege, like, my skin color, I present as, like, a weird mix of who knows what.
Yeah.
Never once have people identified me as an indigenous Latina. Like,
Mhm.
people have asked me if I'm Filipino, people have asked me if I'm Italian, people have asked me, like, anything
Yeah.
else, which, like, grants me a privilege that I could never even though my ancestry, my DNA says that I'm 40% indigenous, I exist in the world not as such, so I could not claim it.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, because there's also the whole concept of, like, who is brown, right? Who is brown and who is not
Mhm.
amongst, especially amongst Central South Americans, Mexicans. And it is very interesting to me. I have that conversation with my husband too, because he's Colombian and
Claro.
it's similar, mixed, right? But like
Yeah.
definitely has indigenous ancestry. So it's like who I don't know. What are the prerequisites to be a brown person? I'm not really sure.
Yes, totally.
I would think I'm like, "Oh, yeah, you seem brown to me," but I don't really know, you know?
Exacto. And I've seen, like, hella white people, and they're like, "I'm an indigenous person from who knows," and I'm like,
Well, yeah, that's
"Hey,
another story.
yeah." So it's very nuanced. So I always like to tread lightly just out of respect because
Yeah,
everyone identifies in different ways. So
that's
I
true.
appreciate you being open about this.
Thanks for asking.
I think it's necessary for us to have these conversations actually, so thank you.
Yeah, 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 it's a lot to unpack there.
Lot. So, Wendy, you went to school in upstate New York. How did you land in food?
So, I was working at a farmer's market in the Bronx, that's where I'm from, in New York, and, I had met through a mutual friend, I had met who someone who's now one of my best friends and business partners, and she was in school for nutrition at that time. And I didn't know that that was a career choice. And I was like, oh my God, this is fascinating. Like, you can actually have a career around food. And, especially food being so important to
Our
me, to my
culture.
culture, right? Like, to a lot of cultures, especially in Latin America, I was like, oh, this is like so cool that you get to educate people around nutrition and food. And at that time, I was working with people in my community because I was doing the farmers markets in the Bronx. And so once I found out that it was a career option, I was like, "Oh my god," I just kinda went full force with it, and I ended up getting my master's in nutrition, because prior to that, I was doing a lot of social work, and I was really burned out by it. So it was a refreshing pivot for me, and my favorite part was talking to people about their cultural foods and, like, how they can incorporate them in ways that were a little bit more balanced. And also just talking about like seasonal eating and different produce options because there's like produce from all over the world, right? From different cultures. So, like, we would have Mexican farmers, we would have Black farmers, and they would bring like, all the different things that they were growing that would resemble home to them. So, it was
Mm,
really fun just like talking to people about food. And yeah, I decided to become a dietitian, and here I am like 15 years later. But I'm really
making
happy.
change.
Yeah, I'm really happy that I chose to go this path because yeah, it was tough doing like foster care and case management. I was like, this is not sustainable. I was burned
Mhm.
out in my early 20s. I was like, how am I gonna keep doing that?
Barely 20 and already
Yeah,
burnt out. That's a problem.
already. Yeah, I was like, no, I got to switch it up.
Totally. Now, something you've said is that dietetics is that how you say it?
Yeah, the field, mhm.
The
The
field of
field of
dietetics.
dietetics, yeah,
Yep.
mhm.
It's an undervalued field because it's dominated by women. Now, as a Latina, there's also could we say that it's dominated by white women?
1,000%.
Also, the lack of cultural food awareness that you just mentioned in the farmer's market of literally being told that beans, tortillas, plátano is like bad carbs or whatever.
Yes, 1,000%.
How was it for you to face that?
Well, I will say that going to school, like, doing the program was not a good experience for me because it was
You're not the
pretty
first
much.
one that says this,
Oh, really? Have you had other dietitians on that? Oh, really?
and every
Okay.
single one is like, "I was crying all the time," like, I'm just obviously
Yes!
exaggerating, but they're like, "It was so hard."
It honestly, like, low key traumatic because
Mm.
I am coming from, like, schools that are very diverse in the Bronx. I went upstate. It was pretty much all the city kids that went upstate, and we had, like, our own community up there, and then I'm doing my graduate program in Harlem, in Spanish Harlem at that, which is Puerto Rican and Mexican,
Yeah.
and I am surrounded by white people. I was like, "This makes absolutely no sense." I was one of the only people of color, one of the only Black people in my program. It was I was one of the first, like, cohorts in that program, but, still, it's still an
Yeah.
issue that's happening now. It's gotten a little bit better, but it's still happening now. And not only that, but there's a lot of barriers to entry into the profession.
Ooh, say more.
You have to, in order to obtain your credential, now they made it so you have to have a master's to become a dietitian. Before it was a bachelor's and then you do your internship, which is a year long. Now you have to have your master's, right? Which for black and brown
So it's not
people
4
who
years, it's 6 years in school.
yes, right. For someone who really needs to work and get going, which is the case for a lot of black and brown people, that is a huge barrier. And then
Mhm.
there's the internship, which you're basically doing a year of unpaid labor.
7 years. So that's
Yes,
like
and you're paying for it, which is crazy. You have to pay tuition for the internship.
whoa.
Yeah, it's a huge barrier, and what we are now seeing is that before it used to be such a competitive program to get into, like the dietetic internship, there weren't enough seats for people. Now it's hard to even get a cohort together because no one wants to become a dietitian anymore. Yes, and part of that is, like, you're going through all that shit to enter the profession, and then you're getting paid pennies. Like,
Mm.
it's not like you're even getting compensated well. Um, like, it's worked out for me because I've gotten very creative with just, like, my skill set and going the entrepreneur route, but let me tell you, if you're doing, like, clinical work and all of that, it's like you're not getting paid very well, and you have to go through so much, and it's like, "Well, why would I put myself through this?"
Why do they make it so hard?
I have no idea. Like, there's so many, different ways that I think that it could be done, and there are, people in the field, like some of my colleagues have, created just different alternatives so that the entry is a little easier, especially for, like,
Mm.
people from diverse backgrounds. But yeah, it's a huge challenge, and I think all of this plays into why the field is dominated by white women.
Mm. Because they have the resources.
Yeah, because it's like, who can afford to take a year off without pay, especially if you're doing a master's, right? Because that means you're a little older. So how are you going to pay your bills? It's not like you're like 18 or 20. Like, you're usually a little older when you're doing your master's. So it's yeah, it's a lot, um, and I truly hope it gets better because the numbers are definitely decreasing, and I'm like, "What's gonna happen to the profession?" I don't really know.
That's what I didn't know it was decreasing. I
Oh,
would think that
yeah.
more people may wanna get but is it, like, being from a very much removed outsider, is it because it's in a way I mean, food heals, I believe that, and when you have culturally aware or just people that can tell you how to eat better, therefore get less sick, doesn't no le conviene at, like, pharma, which is what dominates
Yeah.
the medical system? Is that like a conspiracy theory I just came up with?
I think it's very complex. I think it's very complex. There's so many different factors at play, and
Mm.
interestingly enough, I feel like we've almost swung the completely other way with wellness culture, and now
Mm.
it's like this. It's just like wellness is in so, and it's been commodified.
Mhm.
It's all about profiting from wellness, and so, that's also an issue as well because there's
Mm.
these I mean, the wellness industry it's a multi-billion dollar industry, and so now you have all of these wellness supplements that are coming out and products, and like most of them they're not something that I would necessarily recommend, but there's a lot of money to be made there as well. um so yeah, I mean, it's so complex, right? Because like all these different food industries, like different industry sectors, have a lot of money and influence on
Mhm. Mhm.
policy, and that plays a role too. It's very complex.
That's a whole other podcast.
I don't even know.
Yeah, for sure. Here's the thing. Latina families have been saving money forever. From reusing plastic containers for comida, folding up plastic bags under the sink, and diluting dish soap with water. The last thing we need is to pay fees to access our money, right? Was in case you didn't know, BMO customers have access to 40,000 fee-free ATMs across the United States. Plus, their BMO Smart Advantage checking account has no monthly maintenance fee. Learn more about how BMO can help by visiting bmo.com/checking. bmo.com/checking. Conditions apply. Accounts provided in the United States by BMO Bank and a member FDIC. Let's talk about something we all deserve: financial empowerment. Whether you're tackling debt, planning for retirement, or starting that dream business, navigating your finances can feel overwhelming. But it doesn't have to be, thanks to Savvy Ladies. Savvy Ladies is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping women like you take control of your financial future. They offer free resources, webinars, and my favorite, a free financial helpline where you can connect one on one with trusted financial experts. And yes, it's completely free. Whether you're just starting your financial journey or need guidance on a specific challenge, Savvy Ladies is here to provide quality and trusted advice you can count on. So why wait? Visit savvyladies.org today and connect with the financial helpline to get the personalized support you deserve. Your journey to financial independence starts here. That is savvyladies.org. Your path to financial freedom can start today. Okay, so let's talk about diabetes. Let me give you some stats. So, adults of Hispanic and Latino origin have a higher prevalence of diabetes compared to non Hispanic whites. For example, in a large US survey, the age and sex adjusted total diabetes prevalence was plus minus 22% for Hispanic Latinos versus 12% for not Hispanic Latinos.
Very true. Yeah. As it stands right now, more than half of the US adult population has either prediabetes or diabetes. So super prevalent, and those numbers continue to go up. It definitely impacts Black and Brown communities more
How so? Why?
for many reasons. One of them is access. We don't have the same
Hmm.
access to health and to health education. Living in the hood, it's something that I saw all the time. Like, you have to wait 6 months to get an appointment. Your doctor's always changing because you're working with residents. The quality sucks, so you don't even want to go in. For people that speak Spanish, immigrants, that's a whole nother layer because a lot of providers are not Spanish speaking. So you got to get a translator, right? And they might not be capturing exactly what is going on. It could be very intimidating to go into the doctor's office, even for me as someone who's a health professional. So imagine someone who is just trying to survive, and this is like an added layer of something that they need to manage and do, especially if they have diabetes, because then it's like you might be managing medication, you might be managing glucose monitoring. It's a lot.
Mm,
And, some people, a lot of people, understandably so, they're just like, I don't want to deal with it. And they might go years and years without the proper preventative treatment. And, what happens is that when they eventually do get the care that they need, things have already spiraled, right? And now you're at a higher risk, not just for diabetes, for example, if you were in the prediabetes range, but for a lot of other health conditions. So that is a big issue. Also, just like health education, like we don't have as many resources in Black and Brown communities
mhm.
for, even the thing like the farmers markets and the things that I used to do. That was a new initiative when I started working there by the Department of Health. But that was something that did not exist before. And
Wow.
it had so much success, and I'm so happy that like they rolled it out, and like now it's just part of New York City. Like everybody knows, you go to the farmers market and there's a class happening. There's this, but before that wasn't a thing. And that's New York City. Imagine, cities and states that are, I don't know, they're a lot more remote. There's not
Mhm.
as many resources available to people. There's also racism and the stress of it all, the stress of being an
Mhm.
immigrant, the stress of having to engage with racism. on a daily basis. The
Mm,
stress of living in poverty that can negatively impact your health and put you at a higher risk for many conditions. There's environmental factors too, like when you live in the hood, there's usually more pollution. There's
yes.
a lot, there's not as much access to fruits and vegetables,
Mhm.
as if you were in a neighborhood that has more money. So there's so many different factors that might be influencing risk. And then, of course, there's genetics, which is huge.
Mm,
And, like if you have a strong history of diabetes in your family, then you're going to be at a higher risk.
so many questions. But I wanna talk about you earlier you mentioned how you got creative because you brought entrepreneurship with your career in the field. How did you decide we're gonna create Diabetes Digital, and how was that process to say, "This is an issue," which we've already talked about with the numbers being higher for people like us, "And we need to do something about it. We're gonna do it this way."
Yeah. So, something that I saw a lot working in clinical settings, especially with diabetes care, is that it was very prescriptive and it was very prescriptive and restrictive. So, it would be
Mm.
like, here's a list of what you need to do, and you're on your way. This is everything you need to cut out, and you're on your way. And I was working primarily with immigrants, I was primarily working with Mexicans, Central Americans, and child, don't even get me started on the tortillas because it was like these doctors, like the people that I was working with, they just felt like so much was being stripped from them with
Totally.
their foods. And because the doctors were telling them, you can't eat tortilla anymore, you can't have rice
The
anymore,
staples.
the staples, yes, and they would just come feeling so defeated, and by the time that they would come to me, it's like they thought that I was pretty much gonna tell them the same thing, and they wouldn't wanna meet with a dietitian, and I had so many people tell me, like, "This is so refreshing, I didn't know that there was a way to incorporate these foods in a different way, in a way that was more balanced," and also just having them see the results, like, their A1C would go down, which is like a marker
Mm.
of their blood sugar, they would see their cholesterol improve, and they're like, "Oh, wow, I didn't have to, do all of this restriction to meet my goals." And that's something that I saw all the time, like throughout my years working in clinical settings. And so by the time that we launched Diabetes Digital, at that point, my business partner and I, she's also a dietitian who lives in California. Um, we had many years of experience and we just continuously saw the same thing, especially in Black and brown communities. It was like very prescriptive. Oh, the cottage cheese. Now it's made a comeback, but it's like, who was rocking with cottage cheese back then? I still think it's pretty gross. Whatever. I'm like, sure, I guess it's in now, but it was like very much like the cottage cheese and fruit diet, like, the low
Yeah.
fat milk, like all this stuff that just sounded very bland and very
Mhm.
not culturally who we are, right? So we had become diabetes educators. It's a certification within the dietetics field. And we were like, okay, we really want to do something with this. And there's a huge need. And also, that I think another unique factor is that we take on a weight inclusive approach. And this is like, we never saw all of these things together when it came to an offering for
Yeah.
nutrition, right? It's usually like, okay, cultural foods, but it's like you have to lose weight, and it's like that's a whole nother conversation. Right? But it's like, okay, we're not trying to push weight loss and like a beauty ideal for people. We want to meet them where they are. It's not about changing your body, it's about getting you to eat more nutritious foods that are culturally relevant to you. And it's something that we just didn't see. And we were like, we really think this is going to fill a need. It's something we're both very passionate about. We both have family members with diabetes. And so we decided to go for it. And it's grown so quickly since we've launched last year. I think because, it's very unique. There's not a lot of resources like this out there. And yeah, I'm so excited because I was feeling a little disheartened with the field and the way it was headed, like all of the wellness stuff and like the influencer culture, and I was kind of over it. And then I'm like, "You know what? Let me tap back into the reason that I entered the field, which is, like, to be a resource, to provide that education to people that need it the most."
Mm,
And so in that way, it's just been, like, very refreshing and just very exciting for me.
I love that. And it made me think of my mom, por ejemplo. She I mean, she's talked about digestive issues. She says that her like, the older she gets, the slower her digestive system becomes, and I'm like, I don't know if that's a thing. Like, it could be, but, like, you could address it, no?
Yeah.
Like, what if you go talk to someone about it? And the first thing she says every time is, "No, porque me van a quitar mi pan de la mañana, and I wanna
Oh,
keep eating
yeah.
my coffee and pan." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know if they're gonna say that."
It depends who you talk to, right? Like,
Right.
but yeah, that's a real fear, that a lot of people face. It's like whether it's the pan or the arroz or the yuca or whatever, like whatever foods you really enjoy, because that's real. That's something that doctors will tell you over and over again. And honestly, some dietitians too. They are they're not necessarily practicing from a patient-centered approach, from a
Mm,
culturally inclusive approach. So that's something that is very real for people, and I completely, get that, but that's why we're trying to change the narrative of what a dietitian does, because it's like, "Oh, I'm meeting with the diet police," is like I think the
yes.
idea that has been that has developed when it comes to dietitians, and that's not the case at all. We're completely trying to, like, just move away from that, and it's like, we just wanna support you in feeling better and achieving whatever goals you wanna achieve.
I love that. So tell me about Diabetes Digital. What is it? Who is it for? And what can people find in there?
Yes.
Really cool.
Yes, it's a nutrition telehealth platform. So, as I'm sure you know, now a lot of healthcare can be done virtually because that's especially like post pandemic, right? But
Mhm.
that is also another barrier um that might prohibit someone from going into the office. Like for people that live in certain areas, right? It's like, oh, the commute. Even in New York, to commute anywhere, it's like an hour. And it's like, who
Mhm.
wants to spend 2 hours commuting to go to the doctor, right?
For 20 minutes, yeah.
Exactly. So that you're like literally in and out and you can barely get a word in. So telehealth is very much in right now, and I hope it's here to stay because I do think that it helps with the accessibility of healthcare. Whether it's like seeing your therapist through telehealth, your doctor, your dietitian. So it's completely telehealth, and we are in over 29 states at this point. And so we provide personalized care for people that want to do like preventative work around nutrition. But our focus is insulin resistance. So pre-diabetes, diabetes, PCOS, gestational diabetes. We are covered by insurance because we want to make sure that it is accessible. So we did all of the work when we were launching to make sure that we're in network with all major insurances. We take Medicare too.
Nice.
um, yeah, so, a lot of people don't know that their insurance benefits usually cover, for most people, unlimited sessions with a dietitian, and you don't have to pay anything. So a lot
No
of people,
way.
yeah, a lot of people don't know this. So we like verify benefits for free. We will tell you like these are your benefits. For most people, again, it's like unlimited coverage. For some people, it might be like, oh, you have 6 visits a year, you have 12 visits a year, you have a small copay, so we'll like verify it for you. But it's really nice because you have that support offered by your insurance, and a lot of people don't take advantage of it.
Totally. Well, a lot of people probably don't I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Just because, I mean, I grew up in a place where you literally, like, go to Doctor See Me, and you pay, like, 50 pesos, and then you get, like,
yeah,
you're told what you have.
yes.
Whereas here, it's been, like, a nightmare to even get with a primary that then has to refer you to somebody else that will take 3 months to then see you and whatever, whatever. And so, like, thinking that, like, jumps and hoops and all the things,
Mhm.
the thought that I had was that that a dietitian is a specialty that I would have to get referred to, but you're saying it's not?
No, 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 and not at
Mm.
all. Like, and honestly, the nice thing with telehealth is that for a lot of these specialties, like endocrinologists, for example, that you're like, oh, I have to get a referral. For a lot of these, you can just do a telehealth consult. And a lot of these practices will even order the lab work for you. And you could just go to your local, like, we order lab work for patients. We're like, okay, because sometimes there's resistance from doctors, like, oh, you don't need that.
Yes.
Oh, it hasn't been a year, and we'll order it. We can order it, for patients, and it doesn't really cost that much. That's why telehealth is so valuable because whether it's your
Mhm.
therapist or any kind of specialist, really, a lot of these specialists will see you premenopause, menopause, like whereas like otherwise you would have to jump through hoops to get that referral, wait until it's processed, wait till they book you for an appointment, and it's been 3 months and you still haven't seen someone, you know?
Right. Like, you died at that point.
You're 6 feet under,
Yes.
and you haven't seen anyone.
So I love that. Okay, so, I mean, I love your platform, not the fact that we're 6 feet under, that we have to wait
Right.
till that's amazing. How was it for you to from we have this idea with your co-founder to fully launched? How long did it take?
Yeah, it took about a year, and, I would say that is not that long considering that, we have a pretty big company now. We have a very robust team, like, we have at this point, I think it's close to 20 people on our team.
Nice.
And it has grown very quickly. But I will say that the reason why we were able to get it off the ground, the way that we did was because we had a previous business together for over 10 years. So we were already working together. That's the hardest part, right? Like finding a good partner. If you're
Mhm.
doing it with someone else, if you're doing it alone, it's a little different. So we already worked together. We had a very successful business before, this business, and we had a lot of exposure to just marketing, business, networking, just like telehealth. Like we had a lot of information under our belt, and also we're just very ambitious. So we just hit the ground running. We started networking, talking to people, consulting, and we just like we did it pretty quickly considering how hard it is to get a network with these insurance companies, and to get licensed in different states.
Yes.
It's a
In so many
process.
states.
It's a process, yeah. So, I would say a year is not bad. Yeah.
For sure. No, it's not bad, like, it's quite speedy, actually.
Yeah. 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 If it were just, like me coming in as a solo provider and seeing patients, it would have been a lot easier. But because we were building a bigger team, it's a lot
Mhm.
more complicated.
Totally. Where can people find you? And tell us about your snack download.
Oh my God, yes. So our website is diabetesdigital.co, and you can go there, and as soon as you visit the website, you'll see there's a prompt for you to get snacks that are blood sugar friendly. So it's a free download that you can get when you subscribe to the newsletter. And we offer insurance based nutrition counseling. So, whether you're interested in just like optimizing your nutrition, or if you have like a certain condition, we see a range of different health conditions. We have Spanish speakers. Our dietitians speak other languages as well. So, you can go on our website and just see who you connect with the most. And yeah, we'll verify your benefits for free. And you can get started literally within 24 hours.
Oh my gosh. We're gonna have all the links in the show notes. I think it's such a valuable resource, especially because there's so many misconceptions and so much shame around our foods,
Yes, agreed.
you know? And I love that you have a snack because I'm such a snacker, and I think our culture is, like, very like, siempre estamos comiendo, you know?
I love that, yeah. As we should.
As we should. Agreed, 100%.
Yes.
Okay, I love that. Where else can we find you? Tell us all the places. So you gave us a website. Do you want people to connect with you somewhere else?
Yeah, so we are on socials too. You can find us Diabetes Digital Co. And we also have a podcast. We have
Mhm.
a podcast called Diabetes Digital, and we talk about all things insulin resistance. There's a range of different topics that we cover. We try to stay on top of like the latest research when it comes to insulin resistance, and we interview different experts and also interview our own dietitians. So you can also check us out on iTunes and Spotify.
I love that. How much has insulin's knowledge changed recently since, like, what we knew, like, our parents, for example, knew about
Oh
diabetes
my
to now?
God. So much, especially as I'm sure like you've seen just the different devices that are available now. And
Mhm. La cosa que se ponen aquí, ¿no?
yeah, the CGMs, the continuous glucose monitors, which is like a hot topic too, right? Because it's like there's a lot
See?
of there's a lot of people who do it and don't have insulin resistance. It's like a wellness thing now, right? Because you're just like you're tracking your numbers, you're tracking your. It's similar with the GLP ones too. Like that's another hot topic, right?
Eso
Because
es
it's
o
like
ay, claro, like, we didn't even get into that because that's a whole controversy in and of itself.
right. So it's like there's a lot more technology out there, a lot more information out there and resources, and there's social media, which our parents did not have. So
Exact
and it's like it's a good thing and it's a bad thing because there's so much information, but you don't necessarily know, okay, is this legit? Like, is this
right,
actually like reputable information? And that's where a dietitian steps in because we're very well versed in like sifting through the science and making sure that like you're getting things from a reliable source. So we'll have patients all the time be like, oh, what do you think about this? Or, just like getting a sound opinion on things that they might come across because a lot of stuff online that you see is it's not necessarily something that you should be doing, right?
right.
It might be harmful. So it's really good to make sure you're getting your information from a reliable source.
Mhm. It made me think of the wave of people taking minoxidil for hair growth when it's like a high blood pressure medicine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, I feel like especially with TikTok, it's like you're seeing it all. And who knows, right? So
Everything.
I'm like, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I don't know, but we need to actually look at the research and see like what are there studies to support this? What are the risks too? Like what are the risks involved? Is it
Mhm.
worth taking whatever it is for this outcome? Like there's just so much to look at, right? And talking to a health professional, hopefully will give you some clarity around like, okay, is this something I should actually be doing?
And a culturally aware one, you know? So,
Yes,
they're
yes.
not like, "Never eat your pan again," or your rice again, or your whatever.
Right, right, exactly. Or they're also like pushing beauty ideals or weight
Mm,
ideals that are foreign to your culture or like are just not aligned with who you are genetically, right? Like, oh, okay, your BMI, let's get it to a 25 when you've never been that BMI at all. And especially in like Caribbean culture, being curvy, being thicker is actually something that's celebrated. So it's such a cultural disconnect there when it's like, oh, pushing thinness is a very big thing in the medical field too. So getting a provider who understands that nuance, like, okay, no, like you actually come from a culture that celebrates that, and also genetically that might not be you, and that's okay. It might not be putting you at the health risk that this provider is saying because you're wired differently. A lot of these studies are done. They're first of all they're very old, and a lot of these studies are done
mhm.
primarily on white people, white
Yep.
men.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's you really want someone who has a little background on that so that, yeah, they're giving you value.
And even that context, absolutely, because I remember my life changed when a doctor male doctor, surprisingly so, I was like somebody told another doctor told me that I could have PCOS because I'm hairy. And he was like he's a white man, and he looked at me, he was like he took a breath, and he was like, "Well, what happens is that the studies are very old, and they were done on Slovakian women, meaning when you get an Indian woman, a middle like, a
Yeah.
brown woman of any kind who naturally has more hair, obviously contradicts the study because whoever was studies does not have it."
Yeah.
So he was like, "You don't have PCOS, Pam. You're just
Hairy?
hairy." Yeah, like, that's it. It's just
Wow,
like blame
yeah.
your Spanish side. That's it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, let's do a little more digging. There's
Yeah.
other things to look at, right? Because especially with PCOS, it's like there's different criteria. So it's like you being a hairy
Yes.
person is not the only
Wild, right?
it's not the only thing you want to be looking at. So yeah, that's really funny.
That changed my life a lot. And so I'm grateful for providers that actually take the time to be like,
Yeah.
"What? Like, what nonsense? Who would say that to you?" Which happens, I think, often,
Yes.
no? So that's why we need people like you in the fields.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wendy, so tell us about Diabetes Awareness Month.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, the diabetes and prediabetes rates are rising very quickly. And so November is Diabetes Awareness Month. And so I would recommend sharing this episode with someone who has diabetes or has prediabetes, who has questions about insulin resistance, because we have so many resources. And again, we have a team of dietitians who are very culturally inclusive and can support you in achieving stable blood sugars if that's something that you struggle with in a way that doesn't feel stressful.
Mm,
Because for a lot of people, especially in our cultures, they feel like diabetes is a death sentence. They're like, oh my God, like it's like the worst thing ever to be diagnosed with diabetes. And the reality is that you could live a very long and healthy life with diabetes if you have the right resources, if you have the education to make informed decisions around food, and also look at other areas in your life that you can adjust, like sleep and movement and stress and all of these other things. If you're able to, it doesn't have to just be food. Like there's so many different things that you can do.
mhm.
And so definitely check out our website, diabetesdigital.co. We have so many resources on there. We have recipes on there. And yeah, it literally takes a minute to put in your insurance info. We can verify you and we can match you with one of our dietitians.
How fun. Thank you so much for all your work. This is awesome. Do you have a remedio that you wanna share with us?
Yes, I saw that. And I was like, oh, I got the perfect one. You said you had a Dominican guest before, so I'm not sure if they
I've
had
had
mentioned.
many Dominican guests before.
Okay.
Yes, more than one.
Okay,
Yes.
so they might have mentioned the jarabe dominicano.
No?
Oh, really?
Tell me more.
Okay, well, un jarabe is like a cough syrup, right?
Uh-huh.
So in DR, we do it with onion, which sounds gross, but it's actually delicious. And you basically,
Más como sopa, ¿no? It sounds
es un jarabe. Tú mezclas la cebolla con miel, and
Mm.
you kind of let it sit, y tú te lo bebes cuando tú tienes una gripe, whatever, you don't feel good. And my mom swears by it, Dominicans swear by it, period, and it tastes, I know it sounds gross because 'cause you're like onion and, and honey, but it actually tastes really, really good, y eso sana todo, mi amor.
I love that. Okay.
Yes.
Jarabe dominicano. Maybe people have shared it, but never called it jarabe dominicano, I don't think.
Okay,
But I
sí,
also
un
have
jarabe.
almost 500 episodes, so,
Okay.
just to remember every
Things
single
get
one.
blurry, yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
but I love that. Okay. And what question did your inner child wonder that you can answer to her now?
I was thinking about this one and I was like, one thing that I always wondered about was why does my mom do certain things that I find myself doing now
Now?
a lot? One of the things I'm like, but why is she always working? My mom would work 7 days a week. Like there was no rest. She was a mobile food vendor in the Bronx. Yeah,
Ooh,
she would sell helados in the street, and, she was such an important part of our community because, like, everybody knew my
la
mom and,
señora de los
like,
helados.
yeah, la señora, we would call them coquitos. In New York City, we call them
Oh,
coquitos.
yes,
So
yes.
it's like, "Oh, la señora lo coquito," and, like, I'm like, "Mami, pero ¿por qué tú tienes que trabajar todos los días?" Like, it was, like, literally 7 days a week. And I always wondered about that, along with many other things that that she did that I'm like, "This makes absolutely no sense," and I'm like, "Oh my god, I am literally turning into my mom."
Isn't that funny?
It's a little full circle.
I know.
Yeah, but Yeah, I would say that.
I love that. And what's on your desk? What's the randomest thing that you have on your desk that keeps you grounded?
It's not that random, but I would say my tumbler. I have some tea in it right now. And just hydration is really important. I think it's
Man,
something
I
that
have
we all
mine.
forget. Yeah. We all forget and we're like, oh, but it really does affect so many things, including your blood sugar, guys. Like
Mhm.
it affects so many different things. And yeah, I just think hydration it goes I think it's undervalued in the conversation of wellness because it's such an easy thing, it's such an accessible thing, but it's something that so many of us forget, and it's like, just drink your damn water and,
Yes.
you know,
And
get some
actual
sleep.
water,
Yeah.
because for a minute I'm an avid, I know this is cafe con pan, but I'm an avid tea drinker,
Mhm.
loose leaf tea for that. And so for a minute, I was just drinking tea all day until I started feeling my kidneys like, "Wait a minute, you can't just."
Yes, we need some water too.
Yeah, like real pure clear water.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
caveat that with that.
We need a mix. Yeah, for sure. I've been also doing, like, the agua frescas lately where I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I'll blend, some watermelon and I'll mix it with seltzer water so I can feel a little more elevated.
Mm.
Like, I'm like, "Okay, a little fizz, a little lemon in there." Like, I try to keep it interesting,
You
and,
make
like,
spa water.
switch
Remember
it
that
up.
trend?
Yeah, that is what they're calling it now, but yeah, the spa water, the tea, I'm like some seltzer. I try to diversify my options because water could get a little boring, but it is important to also just, like, drink regular water
Yeah.
as well, whatever
Stay
helps.
hydrated.
Yeah.
Stay hydrated, people, I love that. And what connects you to your main character energy?
Mm. Sleep.
Mm, I like that.
Because let me tell you something, when I am sleep deprived, you're not gonna wanna be around me, okay? I am very out of tune with who I am and just, like, being connected to the things that make me feel like the main character, make me feel like my best self. So, for me, sleep is very important. It's something that I prioritize. I consistently get 8 to 9 hours of sleep every night.
8 to 9? Goals.
Oh, yes. I've always been a good sleeper, like, I would just like, I'm out anywhere, like, in the club, in the car, like, since I was a little girl. So it's definitely something that I really hope to continue on as I get older because I love my sleep and, yeah, I need good sleep.
I love that. So you don't have kids yet?
I don't have kids yet, and that's a big concern of mine because 'cause I'm like, "What is gonna happen to my sleep?"
I know. My mom always tells pregnant people when they say, "What's your advice for like, when we go, like, she meets a pregnant person." Every time she's like, "Sleep. Sleep all you want while you're still cooking that baby. Like,
Right.
go to bed."
Yeah. Yes, I'm not gonna lie. That's something I really do think about, especially now that we're, like, really, planning to have a kid. I'm like, "What are we gonna do?" Because my husband is the same way, and I'm like,
También.
"How los dos dormilones," and I'm like, "What are we gonna do with this child?"
Get a night nurse. This is where you bring your parents in. That just
Right, exactly. Because 'cause I'm just like, "I love my sleep. I don't know what's gonna happen. We'll have to figure it out, honey. I don't know."
but I really support that sleep is your main character energy. I'm with this.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, what have other people said? Because I saw that and I was like, "Oh, I don't know." I honestly just it was what came to mind right now because I wasn't really sure what it was, so I'm curious, like, what are some
Mm.
responses that have stood out to you?
Well, usually people bring it like the lipstick or the hoops,
Ah,
like things that we've
okay.
been kinda socialized to do. Sleep has not come up.
Yes.
Also, I haven't
Oh,
done these questions often, like, I'm kinda, like, rebranding my last questions, so these are
okay.
new. So I haven't asked
Oh,
them
that
that
makes a
much,
lot of sense. Yeah, like, what completes the energy
but you
for
went
you? Whether
internal,
yeah,
which is rad.
Yes, I mean, because I also work from home, so I'm not putting on a lot of I'm
Right.
in sweats all day, so there's not a lot happening here, like,
Yes,
this is the most you're gonna get.
I know. When I go to chiropractor, he's always like, depends on the day, but sometimes he's been like, "Did you work from home today?" And I'm like I'm like propped down and he's like on my back. And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And he's like, "Because you're dressed from the waist up."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, makes sense."
That's exactly right. Yes. I will literally roll out with my pajamas, go outside, like, yeah, I rarely do the whole, the lipstick and the whatever, so, yeah, that wasn't my default, but that makes so much sense, like, I totally get that.
No, but keep your sleep. I will support
Yeah.
that.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
keep
I
it,
think it's
yeah.
necessary. Yeah, for sure, because yes, I'm the same way. I don't function without sleep,
Yeah.
and perimenopause is a bitch, and so
Oh, yes. Yeah, Jess, my business partner, she's going through perimenopause, and yeah, I mean that completely deregulates your sleep.
so much.
Your hormones are out of whack. You should check out MIDI Health, MIDI. They're another like telehealth based platform, and their focus is perimenopause and menopause. And they have a team of doctors, and they'll order the lab work, so you don't have to go in. They do everything virtually. And it's incredible. Like Jess goes there. We always recommend it to patients. But for perimenopause is a really good resource.
I like that. We can include it, why not?
Yeah.
It's a resource.
Yeah.
Maybe they can sponsor. They can sponsor
Right.
yours and mine. Let's go.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah, they're
Especially if you're
great.
already, promoting them.
Yeah, yeah, they're really great. So, if for anyone who's experiencing perimenopause, menopause, and you've had a hard time finding a good provider, it's all virtual. So, MIDI Health.
Nice.
Hmm.
Thank you. Well, Wendy, thank you so much for coming to Kafa Con Pam and for your work.
Thank you. This was so much fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was fun. We could stay talking, but, you have
I know.
things to do.
I'm like, oh my God, it's already been an hour 15. That's
I
crazy. Where
know.
does time go?
When you're having fun, I don't know.
I know. This
But
was
thank you
great.
so much.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It was such a pleasure.
All right, listeners, I gave you 5 things, but I know we talked about a lot more. Especially, I think something that I truly enjoyed was the conversation of Afrolatinidad, which was unrelated to diabetes, but I think relevant and important for us to talk about. And so I really enjoyed Wendy's humoring me and 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 just like openness to talk about it in a way that was very candid, and it felt non-confrontational and it felt real. And so I appreciate not just that part of the conversation but everything. I hope you learned a lot. I learned a lot about this, and I'm definitely more aware of a lot of things. I am just honoring cuando tengo hambre, and I grab a snack. And I've not been someone who has been in diet culture. I've never had I love food actually, and I've never been kinda like on a calorie counting type of like vibe. Never done that. Pero what I have is digestive issues. And so when I'm careful with the foods that I eat, it's not because they are quote bad foods, but my body just doesn't love them. And so I'm working more with my body to see, hey, what's happening? How could we support you in a way that you like it so I don't feel like I'm going to explode after I eat a sandwich, which I think it's also something that we must consider. Pero bueno, I really hope you enjoyed this conversation. I had a lot of fun, and stay tuned for more. Follow us, tag me on the socials. Let us know what you enjoyed, what you didn't. También, mira, if you have the time and the will and you feel called to do this, would love it if you drop a review, because that helps a ton with the algorithms. Also, would love it if you go visit our sponsors, because si no, como? Si no, como? We can't keep providing you this this podcast for free or paying the team even. Thank you so much for being here y bueno, como siempre, sigue brillando. Café con Pam is created con mucho amor by our small but mighty team. Content production by Nancy Jaimes. Podcast management by Maru Linardi. Social media and marketing by Brenda Figueroa. And me, your host, Pam Covarrubias. To keep the cafecito brewing and the healing flowing, join the Supporters Club for only $5 a month and access early episodes, behind the scenes vibes, and exclusive minisodes you won't hear anywhere else. Screenshot this episode and tag me and share what resonated. I love seeing your takeaways. Follow on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let's keep the conversation going with us on social media at Café con Pan Podcast because your voice always matters there. We love being on Instagram and Facebook. Gracias for listening to Café con Pan, a Spread Ideas Move People production. For more episodes, guest info, or resources, visit cafeconpam.com. And if you're healing from calladita culture and don't know where to start, you can take the quiz. cafeconpam.com/quiz for Tia Wisdom and cariño just for you.
Sabrosura pa' ti que